Name's Jack Rudd. Been hauling freight east to Midwest for years now. I run solo, mostly nights, keep to myself, and I don't talk big unless something needs saying. You stay alive out here by learning to notice the small stuff, the way the air feels before a storm, the extra second it takes a brake line to hiss, the way a left merge shoulder don't look quite right. Thing is, no matter how many miles you got behind you, the road's always got new tricks. And sometimes it ain't nature or bad luck. Sometimes somebody moves the cones. I was coming out of Jersey late, around 11:30 p.m., just finished a drop in Newark, reefer load bound for a warehouse in Columbus, Ohio. Route was clean, I-95 south to 276, then west. Weather's good, cool, dry, stars showing over the Delaware. Trucks running fine, no warning lights, trailer seals intact, paperwork in order. Dispatch left me alone, said delivery windows wide open next morning. Perfect run, right? I plan to pull a straight overnight, catch a few hours of sleep in Ohio. Tank full, thermos full, playlist loaded. No reason to expect anything weird. I remember Philly lights behind me, empty lanes ahead, just taillights and a couple tired billboards glowing off to the side. I was rolling smooth. Cruise on 62, just past mile marker 24, I think. Then I saw the cones. First, just a few. Clean, bright orange. Too clean. They didn't have that greasy road film like they've been sitting a while. They looked fresh. Almost too fresh. I've seen plenty of construction zones in Pennsylvania. Half the time you crawl through for miles with no workers in sight. But this, no signs. No arrow boards. No flashing trucks. Just cones shifting traffic from right to left. Okay, I figured maybe they're late putting up the signs. Could be night crew running behind. But it itched at me. GPS didn't show any work zone. Still, I moved left like the cones told me to. It was late, no cars behind me, just a box truck way up ahead, taillights disappearing in the bend. As I shifted into the new lane, something felt off. Road texture changed. It got rough under the tires, like chip seal, not smooth asphalt. My headlights caught the edges. No lane markings. No fresh paint. No shoulder line. Just cones guiding me into a makeshift path, left shoulder hugging a Jersey barrier. I eased off the throttle a bit. Got that buzz in my neck, like when your CB goes quiet and you know something's wrong. You don't always need a reason, just a feeling. I looked in the side mirror. Cones behind me. Perfectly spaced. Someone had laid this out like a damn model set. Then came the dip. Sudden, like a drop in the road. A quick 3-foot grade I didn't see coming. Trailer jolted. Left tandem smacked hard. Thunked like it hit a curb or lip. I white-knuckled the wheel trying to keep it straight. My coffee spilled all over the dash. Right side mirror shook loose and folded in. I coasted to a stop. Flashers on. Heart pounding. Pulled the brakes.
Sat there for a second, hand on the wheel, listening. Silence. No construction noise. No hammering, no yelling, no reversing alarms. Just my engine ticking, slowing down. I climbed out, flashlight in hand, walked back along the trailer. No major damage, but the left side mud flap was half torn off. Wheels scraped, one airline scuffed. I crouched down, felt the gravel under the tires. Not asphalt, not concrete. I was parked on a temporary path, maybe 10 feet wide, lined by cones that led right into a dark area up ahead. No reflectors, no lights, no crew. I walked another 20 feet forward, careful. The cones kept going, but now I saw the truth. The U-lane ended at a blind concrete barrier. Just ended. No curve, no merge, no signage. If I'd kept rolling another 30 seconds, I'd have buried the cab in that wall. No doubt. I stood there staring, trying to process. Who the hell sets up a lane that ends like that? I looked up. There was a traffic cam on a pole maybe 50 yards away, pointed toward the real highway, not this fake path. Turned away like someone twisted it on purpose. That's when I started getting that dry mouth feeling. Not fear exactly, not yet, but something close. I walked back to the rig. GPS still showed me on I-95, but the map had my truck off the lane, floating gray. I switched apps. Same result. Called dispatch. No answer. Too late. I tried a buddy of mine, Ron, hauls hazmat in Virginia. Told him what I saw. He whistled low, said he heard of something like this down in Georgia last year. Someone moved barrels and led a dump truck into a pit. Said it was probably pranksters or copper thieves trying to divert night crews. I said, this don't feel like pranksters. This feels placed, intentional. He got quiet. Said, you need to get off that spot now. I did. Took me 10 minutes to do a reverse pullout, inch by inch. The trailer didn't like it. Kept sliding to the left toward the drop, but I got her straight and back on the main. Once I hit real pavement again, the ride smoothed out. I stopped at the next rest area, checked everything again. No major damage, just scrapes. But I couldn't shake that image of that dead-end lane, those cones, so neat, so deliberate. Someone moved them. Someone wanted that lane to exist. Ever had that gut pull when you know the road's lying to you? Drop your answer in the comments. I want to hear it. I rolled slow for a few miles after that, hands still tense on the wheel, trying to make sense of what just happened. My head kept flipping through possibilities. Rogue construction crew, prank, some weird detour that didn't get mapped, but nothing made sense. You don't just set up a whole fake lane on a federal interstate and walk away like it's nothing. I kept replaying the bump, that jolt when the trailer dipped. Felt like I'd driven off the edge of something. About 15 minutes later, somewhere near a way station that was closed for the night, I pulled off onto the shoulder.
Just needed to breathe, clear my head. The dash clock read 2:42 a.m. I killed the engine, stepped out, and lit a smoke. Everything around was quiet. Too quiet for a highway. No engine hums, no distant Jake brakes. Just still night. One overhead light flickering above the shoulder. I looked back down the road. Couldn't see the dip anymore, but I knew where it was. I'd marked it in my head. Something was wrong with the way I'd been funneled. The merge happened too sudden. I thought back to the cones, how they nudged me left, how smooth the transition felt at first, almost like they knew how to lay it right. That's what bugged me the most. It wasn't random. It had symmetry. Whoever laid that out had done it with purpose and precision. I got back in the cab, fired up the truck again, and eased back onto the road. I wasn't ready to stop for the night, not yet. I needed to get clear of that stretch. I needed answers. I figured maybe if I pushed another 30, 40 miles, I'd find a rest stop with another driver, someone local maybe, someone who might have seen the same thing. Most company guys don't look twice at cones. We'd follow the arrows, keep the freight moving. But I had a bad taste in my mouth and a rattling trailer axle to remind me this wasn't just wear and tear. Sure enough, just past the next exit, I saw a sign for a truck plaza. Fuel, food, showers, the works. Pulled in under the sodium lights, parked between a grain hauler and a Walmart dry van. I shut her down, stretched, then went inside to grab a coffee and maybe pick up a quick talk with someone. Inside was dead. Just the overnight cashier, an old guy in a folding chair watching baseball highlights on mute. I nodded, poured a coffee from the pot that looked like it hadn't been changed in a decade. At the far end of the counter sat a guy in a faded cat hoodie, eating microwave chili with a plastic spoon. He had the look, mid-50s, weathered face, arms crossed like they'd just stayed that way after 30 years on the road. I took a seat one stool over. "Long night?" I asked, sipping the bitter mud. He looked up, wiped his mouth with a napkin. "Aren't they all?" I gave him a half grin. "You running southbound tonight?" "Out of Trenton. Dropped off HVAC units, heading toward Dayton now." "You?" "Columbus, reefer load. Left Newark around midnight." He nodded. "That's a rough stretch out of Philly this time of night." "It is that," I said. "You see anything strange on I-95? Near mile 24? He paused mid-chew. "Strange how?" Cone setup looked off. Merged me left into a fake lane. Dead end. Nearly wrecked my axle. He blinked once. Dead end? Concrete barrier. No lights. No warning. Just cones laid perfect like it was official. GPS didn't show anything. No signs. He set the spoon down. I saw cones maybe 20 minutes before you. I stayed right, figured they were prepping for daylight work. Didn't think much of it. You're saying they shifted you left? Like a funnel, I said.
Nothing sketchy about it until I was in the cut. He leaned back. That stretch ain't got any scheduled night work far as I know. My buddy hauls DOT asphalt out of Bristol. He'd have said something. I stared at my coffee. Thought maybe it was kids or a crew trying to reroute traffic for scrap theft. Kids don't lay cones like that, he said. And thieves don't bother with full shifts. That's union-level precision. We sat quiet for a minute. He looked around, lowered his voice. 3 weeks ago, west of Allentown, a flatbed got flagged down by a guy in a vest, claimed he was DOT, had papers and everything, told the driver to follow cones through a detour, led him into a ditch. They stripped his chains and toolboxes. I raised an eyebrow. Police involved? Sure, but what can they do? By the time they get there, cones are gone. Camera angles miss it. Driver's the only witness. And who listens to a trucker at 3 in the morning? I didn't answer. I was thinking about that traffic cam turned away from the fake lane, the gravel under my tires, the perfect spacing of those cones. You didn't see anyone? He asked. Not a soul, just the cones and the dead end. He reached into his jacket and pulled out a crumpled wrapper. Next time you hit that stretch, record everything. Dash cam, phone, whatever you got, even if it looks like nothing. I nodded. You think it's some inside thing? He thinks someone's practicing, testing reactions, seeing how far they can push a setup before someone notices. That hit me hard, because it made sense. A live run, no crash, no cops, perfect test. I finished my coffee, stood up. Appreciate the talk. He nodded, went back to his chili like we'd just talked about fuel prices. I walked out, mind racing. If he was right, if someone was testing setups on live traffic, then I wasn't the first, and sure as hell wouldn't be the last. Back in the cab, I didn't bother trying to sleep. Just sat there in the dark, checking my mirrors, watching the road, wondering how many other fake lanes were out there waiting. I couldn't shake it. That whole next day, even after I dropped the load in Columbus and signed off the papers, the fake lane stayed in my head like a bad echo. Normally, after a night run, I'd crash in the sleeper a few hours, grab a late breakfast, maybe catch a shower if the water pressure's decent. Not this time. I kept replaying it over and over. I wanted answers. So instead of heading toward the next pickup, I turned back east. Dispatch wasn't happy, but I gave him some story about engine hesitation and wanting to run diagnostics back in Jersey. Not a total lie. I did hear a knock in the rear axle, probably from the dip. But truth was, I needed to see that stretch again. In daylight. I wanted to know what the hell I drove through, what I missed, and if it was still there. I rolled back toward Philly around midday. Summer heat baking the cab, road glare bouncing off the windshield.
AC groaning under the weight of I-95 humidity. I watched every marker, every overhead sign, and slowed as I neared mile 24. No traffic, which was odd for that hour, just me and a few cars. I pulled off at a small side exit a mile before the spot, parked behind an abandoned way station, and walked the rest of the way on foot. Didn't want to risk rolling the rig into something I couldn't back out of again. Figured better to walk it, slow, unnoticed. Right away I saw the difference. No cones. None. No lane shift. The shoulder where I'd been forced left, smooth, untouched. Looked like a regular lane now. No merge, no gravel, no scrape marks. But I knew where it was, the exact angle. I crossed the real lanes when it was clear, climbed up over a guardrail, and made my way along the inner barrier on the left. It was hot, loud, dust kicking up with every passing truck. Then I found it. A faint path, darker asphalt where tires had pressed down gravel, about 10 feet wide, curved slightly, leading nowhere. The groove was still there, subtle, like a scar that hadn't healed yet. I followed it with my boots, step by step, and sure enough, it ended right where my trailer jolted. A chunk of concrete lip, jagged edge, maybe 3 feet high, stained with rubber. My rubber. I kneeled down, touched it. Smooth, clean, fresh scrape line. This wasn't a permanent setup. This was temporary, and someone cleaned it up good, but not perfect. Farther up, I spotted an old work zone barrier off in the weeds, like someone dragged it there. A few cones, too, stacked, tied with nylon rope, half hidden under tarp. Not PennDOT issue, no labels, just generic safety cones, no reflective collars. I turned around and scanned the area for cameras. That's when I saw the pole. Same one I passed that night. Tall, steel, topped with a cam dome. But the lens wasn't facing the road. It was tilted down toward the tree line. That's what really nailed it for me. Somebody had manually turned it. You don't get that angle from wind or vibration. I pulled out my phone, took photos of everything. The scrape, the cone pile, the camera. Even shot a short video walking the path. Timestamp, GPS location, the whole thing. I wasn't sure who I'd show it to yet, but I wanted proof. I was already starting to feel like I'd imagined it, like maybe the stress of the road had cooked something in my brain. But this was real. Back at the rig, I loaded up the shots onto my laptop just to back them up. That's when I noticed something. In one of the photos, the one with the scrape, you could just barely see another mark nearby. A tire track, but not mine. Too narrow, looked like a dually pickup. It came from the other direction, opposite flow. I zoomed in. The track curved out from behind the tree line, cut through the gravel, then vanished. There was no legal way to get a vehicle back there, not without crossing median or jumping a curb.
Which meant whoever placed that trap, or whatever it was, did it by vehicle. Maybe a truck with hazard lights. Maybe something unmarked. But they had to access it quietly, fast, and get out before daylight. The more I stared at that photo, the angrier I got. Not scared, just pissed off. Somebody was out here using the road like a chessboard, and we were the pawns. Every day, guys like me run millions of miles across this country, trusting what we see out the windshield. You get used to being invisible, just part of the flow. But this was different. Someone used that trust to build a fake. I sat in the cab for a while, engine off, just listening to the noise of traffic rolling by. Every rig that passed sounded like a question. Who else got hit? Who rolled through that night and didn't even realize it? Or worse, who didn't make it out? I started checking local news on my phone, searching keywords. Accident, I-95, construction, fake detour, Pennsylvania, truck crash, cones. Nothing. Not a word. Either nobody crashed or nobody reported it the right way. On a hunch, I tried pulling up public DOT work orders. Some states make that stuff visible. Found a spreadsheet from earlier that month. Checked mile 24. No entries. Not even maintenance. That lane wasn't supposed to be touched until the fall. That's when it hit me. This wasn't just a weird night or bad luck. Someone moved those cones knowing nobody would check. They didn't need to do it often, just once. Maybe for a reason. Maybe as cover or a test. But they knew the schedule. They knew the blind spot. And they knew how long it'd take someone like me to notice. I shut the laptop, started the engine, and eased back onto the interstate, heading south this time. I wasn't running from it. I just didn't want to be near that stretch anymore. Not until I figured out what to do next and who to tell.
I figured if anyone might know something, it'd be a tow guy. They're the first to show up when things go sideways on the road, and they see everything. Accidents, breakdowns, all the weird setups that never make the news. So I asked around at a rest stop outside Harrisburg where I knew a few local outfits hung out. Took a bit of cash and a pack of Marlboros, but I got a number. Guy named Rick ran a flatbed out of Norristown. Supposedly worked I-95 night rotation. Unofficial, but regular. I called the number, told him I was looking for a tow, claimed I'd bottomed out near mile 24 a couple nights ago and wanted someone familiar with the area. I didn't lie, just didn't say I was already out. He said, "You still stuck?" I said, "Nah, I'm good now. Just want to understand what the hell I hit." He was quiet for a second. Then, "Where exactly?" I gave the marker, told him about the lane shift, how I ended up in a fake path that dipped hard into a blind barrier. Long pause. "You want a red KW sleeper reefer unit?" My stomach dropped. "Yeah." "You pulled me out." He said, "Thought so. You the guy with the busted flap?"
Didn't ask many questions that night. I said, "Well, I got some now." He sighed. "Meet me by the scrapyard off Ridge Pike. Back lot. Half an hour." I pulled up just after 5. Sun was low, bugs out, air thick with grease and cut metal. Rick was already there, leaning against a rusty rollback with a busted fender and a Goodyear ball cap. He didn't smile when he saw me, just lit a cigarette and nodded toward the back fence where it was quieter. I followed. "You figure it out?" he asked, blowing smoke sideways. "Parts of it," I said. "Somebody laid a fake detour. Knew what they were doing. Cones, markings, everything." He looked at me sideways. "You think it was random?" I shook my head. "I think it was placed." He spat on the gravel. "You're not wrong." I waited. He rubbed his jaw. "We get calls here and there. One truck stuck. One axle bent. No real crash. Never repeats. Always same stretch, somewhere between mile 22 and 26. Never during posted work hours. No permit crews, no lights. No plates on the rigs that show up to help." I said, "What kind of rigs?" He shrugged. "Ans, flatbeds, sometimes just pickups. White. Always clean. No numbers. No DOT stickers. Guys in reflective gear, but no ID. They don't talk much, just wave folks away. Most drivers don't ask. They're tired. They just want out." "And you?" I asked. "I do what I'm paid to do," he said. "I pull out the stuck ones. I don't ask why the road moved." We stood in silence for a minute, the hum of the scrapyard behind us, the metal groaning as a crane shifted old axles and shells. Rick leaned in, voice lower. "I'll tell you this. I've pulled 3 rigs out of that same cut this year. All-night hauls. No injuries, no cops called. All drivers walked it off, paid cash, and moved on." "Ever called DOT?" He laughed. "What am I going to say? Hey, your cones got legs?" They don't care. Unless someone dies or spills hazmat, it's paperwork and voicemails. "You ever see who sets it up?" He flicked ash. "Once. Maybe. Saw a guy walking the line at dawn, wearing a vest, rolling cones back into a trailer, like nothing happened. Looked like he'd done it 100 times. I frowned. "No markings?" "None. Trailer had dealer tags, out of state." "Which one?" "Delaware. The tags like that, they're like paper plates. Easy to swap, easy to vanish." I was getting that tight feeling again. Like the more I learned, the less I understood. I said, "Why are you telling me this now?" Rick took a long drag, then ground out the cigarette with his boot. "Because you're the first one that came back looking.
Most guys, they just count their blessings and keep rolling. But you went back. You want to know the truth? That means you might actually do something with it." I didn't know if that was a compliment or a warning. He walked to his truck, pulled a small paper map out of the glove box, old school, and unfolded it on the hood. "Look here," he said.
"There's a service access behind the tree line, not marked on GPS. Used to be for maintenance back in the 80s. Now it's chained off, but the posts are rusted. Someone with bolt cutters and a quiet rig could be in and out in under 10 minutes. I leaned in. "That how they got the cones in?" "Best guess. Maybe staged it over a couple nights. Maybe they got storage buried in one of them abandoned utility sheds back there. Who knows?" I traced the line with my finger. "So they build the lane, wait for a mark? Or a target," he said, straightening up. "I ain't saying they're after you specifically, but it don't feel random. Not with how clean it is, not with how fast it disappears." That hit harder than I expected. The idea that it wasn't just bad luck, but a trap, one I nearly didn't walk out of. Rick folded the map, tucked it under his arm. "You didn't hear this from me," he said, "and don't call me again, not unless something goes sideways." I nodded. He fired up the flatbed and rolled out, gravel crunching under his tires. I stood there in the heat, watching the sun drop behind the fence, thinking about what he said, thinking about how the road we trust every night can be bent like wire by someone with the time and the tools, and how few people even notice. I waited a few days before heading back. Didn't tell dispatch, didn't tell Rick, just logged my miles, kept it clean on paper, and ran light toward Philly like it was any other deadhead return. But I knew where I was going. I wanted to see it in daylight again, not from the shoulder this time, but from the opposite side. Eastbound, mid-afternoon, plenty of traffic, nothing sketchy on the surface. Mile marker 24 came up, and I slowed just a hair, not enough to flag myself, just enough to scan. That's when I saw it. Real PennDOT crew working the right shoulder. 2 trucks, yellow with full DOT stickers, aero board flashing, guys in full gear. Looked legit, and probably was. But what got me was where they were working, just a few hundred feet from where I'd gone off. I changed lanes and took the next exit, looped around and came back eastbound again. Pulled off into a Sunoco lot that backed up to the fence line along the highway. From there, I could see the crew from behind. They weren't doing much, just standing around, talking, walking up and down the shoulder with a measuring wheel. No digging, no heavy machinery, no cones in sight. I figured, screw it, I'll walk over, play dumb. I grabbed a safety vest I keep for roadside checks and walked the fence line like I was checking on a trailer issue. Close enough to see, not close enough to get barked at. One of the guys noticed me, short guy with a beard, maybe late 30s, squinting like he'd worked sun-up jobs too long. I waved like a neighbor. He nodded back, polite but cautious. "You fellas fixin' to patch something up?" I called. "Marking subsurface utility. New cable going in. Fiber." "Right on this stretch?" "Yeah."
Been out here 3 days, just finished. You guys here the other night? Like 3-4 nights ago? He looked over at the other guy, then back at me. Nah, we're daytime crew. Graveyard runs out of Norristown. Yeah, I said, nodding. You know if they had a shift Monday night around here? He frowned. They don't run nights unless it's paving or accident cleanup. You see something? I hesitated. Thought I saw cones moved. Detour that didn't look right. Sent me off left, into a dead lane. His frown deepened. Not our work. There's been no night permits on this mile for months. You sure it was here? Dead sure. He didn't say anything for a moment. Then he leaned closer, lowered his voice. You see a white truck? I blinked. Maybe. Why? He just shook his head, looked past me. Nothing, just heard stories. Some contractors doing private cable cuts without full permits. Not supposed to be out here, so they fake control zones. Shouldn't be on interstates, but hey,
Stuff slips through. I stared at him. That legal? He gave me a look like I was the one asking dumb questions. Of course not, but it ain't always about legal. It's about fast. Some of those fiber outfits pay by the mile. You get 5 miles cut in one night, that's cash. If you hold it up for permits and full crew, you're in the red before noon. So they fake DOT presence to keep drivers off them? He shrugged. Or to cover a cable trench, or to reroute traffic off a section while they snake a duct. Seen it before. Not on interstates, though. County roads mostly. But if someone's pushing hard and quiet, maybe they tried their luck. You report it? We're not enforcement, he said flat. We dig where they tell us. If something looks wrong, we tell the foreman. That's it. I watched them pack up. They weren't sloppy, but they weren't in any hurry either. Just another job to them. Another stretch of dirt, measured and tagged. No idea someone nearly put a trailer through a concrete barrier a few yards from where they were working. After they left, I went back to the gas station and pulled out the dash cam footage from that night. It wasn't much. Grainy, low light, but the lane shift was there. You could see the cones, clean, precise, the curve left, the sudden drop. You couldn't see the wall, but you could feel it in how the headlights jerked right before I stopped. I froze the frame, took a screenshot, and emailed it to myself. Then I made some calls. First one to PennDOT's Public Works line. Got passed around 3 times before someone picked up who even knew what I was asking. I told them what happened, gave the time, the mile, the fake lane, even the footage. The guy on the phone sounded tired, bored, like he'd heard stranger things. Sounds like unauthorized work zone setup. We've had a few reports like that. Can you send the footage? I already did. Email's in your inbox. Right, he muttered. We'll log it, maybe forward it to enforcement.
He paused. Sir, unless there was damage or injury, it's just an incident report. I can't promise more than that. Don't you have people who check this stuff? He sighed. We do, but cones get moved every day. Wind, drunk drivers, cleanup crews, you name it. It's hard to track unless we catch someone in the act. I hung up. Tried the state police next. Got a desk sergeant who took down the info and said they'd keep an eye out. No follow-up, no callback, no case number. I wasn't surprised. To them, it was just another trucker story. Guy missed a lane, wants someone to blame. But I knew what I saw, and I knew it wasn't random. That night, I checked 3 trucker forums, searched for keywords like cone trap, fake detour, I-95 danger. Nothing popped for a while, just the usual complaints about traffic and way stations. Then, in a thread about Pennsylvania construction zones, buried 10 comments deep, I saw it. Ran into something weird, mile 24 last month. Cones moved me left, no lights, nearly went off-road. Thought it was just me being tired. Anyone else hit that? No replies, no likes, no follow-up. I messaged the user, never heard back. But now I knew I wasn't the only one. The damage didn't look like much at first. Bit of mud flap torn, scuff marks on the left tandem, one air hose rubbed raw where it dragged across that concrete lip. But when I finally took her into the shop in Carlisle, the mechanic gave me a look that said more than I wanted to hear. He slid out from under the trailer, wiped his hands on a rag, and said, "Your axle's out of line. Rear cross brace is bent. You bottomed hard." I told him about the dip. Left out the fake cones part. Just said I hit an unmarked edge in a work zone. He squinted. PennDOT? Don't know, I said. No signs, just showed up. He grunted. Ain't the first I've seen this month. You want it fixed right, you're looking at $3,500 easy. Might be more if that bearing shut. I nodded, said I'd call dispatch. Which I did.
sitting in the corner of the bay, staring at the chipped floor paint while the fans blew hot air around. Their answer came quick. Repairs weren't covered. No service order, no report from DOT, no official work zone means it's on me. Off-road damage, they called it. Like I'd decided to go sightseeing with a 53-foot reefer on a Tuesday night. Appeal it, I said. They said, you can try, but unless you got video and an official statement, you're gonna eat it. I hung up before I said something that would have cost me more than the repairs. So yeah, $3,500, out of pocket. Took a partial load to Cleveland just to keep the fuel tank full while I waited on the shop. Then another $1,500 for the axle brace and bushings, once they pulled it apart and saw how deep the twist went. All in, just over $4,600. Gone. No insurance claim, no reimbursement. And the funny thing is, not one person, not one, asked what caused it.
They just shrugged, like these things happen. And maybe they do, but not like that. Not 3 feet from a fake wall. I talked to Ron again, the hazmat guy I'd called that night. He met me at a pilot outside Wheeling, sat across from me with a hot dog in one hand and a printout of that forum comment in the other. He said, "This yours?" I nodded. "Whoever posted this ain't posted since. Account's dead, like they dipped out." "Maybe they just forgot," I said. He looked at me. "Or maybe they got told to forget." I didn't answer. I was tired, like real tired. The kind that crawls in your bones. Not just from running miles, but from knowing the system don't care. You do everything right and still get bent over because some guy moved cones to the left one night. Ron leaned in. "You know they could have been filming it." "Who?" "Whoever set it up. Think about it. Dash cams catch the truck, the dip, the near wreck. They study the footage. They see how much space they need, how drivers react." I shook my head. "That's too much." "Is it?" he said. "You said yourself it was precise, clean, not some kid screwing around. So who benefits from this?" "I don't know," I said. "But it cost me nearly $5,000. "Yeah, and that's just you." He got up to throw away his wrapper, and I just sat there staring at my coffee, thinking about how close I came to tipping. If I'd been 5 miles per hour faster, if the load had been off center, if I'd blinked at the wrong second, that trailer would have jackknifed into concrete, and I'd be lucky to walk away. I kept checking the forums every couple days, looking for new posts, similar phrases. Cones off, lane dead-ended, unmarked work zone. I found 2, one out of Maryland, another near Richmond, both older, both ignored. Drivers said the same thing. Night run, shifted by cones, sudden drop, no lights, no follow-up. No one listened. One guy said his front axle snapped, cost him his job. Another said his fleet claimed he faked it, fired him on the spot, said he was trying to get out of a route. Sounded familiar. After that, I started looking at the bigger picture. Checked maps, closures, night jobs. Found nothing unusual. But I did start noticing something else. How often trucks were detoured without notice. Local police rerouting for wrecks. Private contractors diverting traffic around weekend paving. Sometimes without even a flashing arrow. Just cones and a waving guy in a vest. That's the loophole. As long as you look official, most folks follow the signal. Especially truckers. You don't stop to argue with a guy in a hard hat. You just go, move freight, stay on time. And if someone wanted to exploit that, they already are. A week after the repair, I got a load to Chicago. Clean run, good weather, nothing weird. But somewhere outside Toledo, I saw cones again. Just a few. Sitting by the shoulder, in a weird spot, not blocking anything. No trucks, no workers, no signs. but they were fresh. Too fresh.
A kind of orange that doesn't fade, and spaced just so. I slowed down, didn't change lanes, watched every detail, turned on the dash cam. This time, nothing happened, but I caught myself scanning trees for cameras, looking at side roads, watching my mirrors like someone was tailing me. That's what stuck with me. Not the money, not even the damage, the doubt. Now every cone I see, I ask, is that supposed to be there? Every arrow board, every lane shift, I wonder who put it down and why. I don't trust the road anymore, not the way I used to. Things changed after that, not loud and dramatic, just steady, like a slow leak in a tire. I didn't go back to that stretch of I-95, not even during the day. Rerouted myself through 476 or dropped south early to hit 295 into Delaware. Added miles, burned more fuel, but I didn't care. The cost of avoiding that spot felt cheaper than trusting it. I told dispatch I wouldn't run that section anymore. They didn't push back. Guess they'd heard enough grumbling from drivers to let it slide. I stopped running nights as much, too. Not completely, but I started choosing loads with more daylight in them. Started avoiding the 2 to 4 a.m. window when the road goes dead and your mind starts seeing things in shadows. Before, I used to love that time. Empty lanes, clean air, no chatter on the CB. Now I watch that quiet a different way, like it's waiting for something. I put money into better gear, too. Dual dash cams, one facing forward, one rear. Both high-res, night vision, GPS synced. Got a body cam that clips onto my vest when I have to step out near a scene that doesn't feel right. Not that I expect it to save me, but at least I'll have footage if somebody tries to say I was imagining things again. I also keep a log now, handwritten, not for DOT, just for me. Every odd thing I see, cones that don't match, work zones with no work, trucks sitting dark on ramps, unmarked pickups parked on gravel shoulders, I write it down. Location, time, weather, what I saw, what felt wrong. Some pages got nothing special, just notes. Others got details I still read back and think, yeah, that wasn't right. The funny part is, none of it looks illegal from a distance. That's the trick. That's the whole game. You do just enough to pass a glance. Reflective vest, a few cones, hazard flashers. People trust structure. They trust the look of authority more than the paperwork behind it. I caught up with Rick once more, quick coffee at a BP in Redding. Didn't plan it, just saw his truck and figured, what the hell. He asked me, "You still chasing ghosts?" I said, "No, just dodging them." He nodded like he got it. "They ever call you?" "Who?" "The suits. DOT, cops, whoever you filed reports with." "Nope, nothing." He sipped his coffee. "They won't. You kicked the wrong bush." I asked him, "You ever think about walking away from this whole thing?" He laughed. "And do what? Sell patio furniture? This is the job. Always has been."
Just gotta keep your eyes up. I didn't answer. I kept thinking about that first night. The way it all looked normal until it didn't. The way I rolled right into it, because that's what we're trained to do. Obey the cones, follow the path, don't ask questions unless something explodes. I don't look at highway cones the same anymore. Not even in cities, not even in broad daylight. I look at where they came from, who placed them, whether the truck nearby has real stickers or some hardware store vest thrown over a lawn crew jacket. I scan tires, plates, faces. I watch mirrors more than I used to. Not just for cops or cars, but for trucks stopped too long in the wrong place. Most drivers don't see it. They're tired. They're chasing time. I don't blame them. I used to be that guy. Now I run different, slower in the places that feel wrong. Don't cut corners just to shave an hour. I don't chase the perfect run anymore. I chase the one that gets me back in one piece. The guys on the forums, still quiet. I post now and then, never get replies, just views. That's fine. Maybe they're reading. Maybe they went through something too and just don't want to talk about it.
Maybe silence is the only way they can deal with it. I still don't know who set that lane up. Still don't know if it was some rogue contractor, a theft crew, or someone testing something bigger. Maybe it was just a mistake. They got covered up too fast. But it wasn't natural. You know the road. You know when it shifts under you. That night, it shifted on purpose. I keep that screenshot from the dash cam saved on my phone. Not because I need proof anymore, but because I need to remember. That moment when trust failed and instinct took over. That second when the cones lied and the road nearly killed me. People talk about near misses like they're lucky breaks. I don't see it that way. A near miss is just a bullet that didn't hit this time. Doesn't mean you're safe. Just means you're next if you don't pay attention. So, I pay attention now. Every mile. Every night. And I don't drive blind anymore.